My name's Kyle Zanetto. I'm 30 years old, I'm a carpenter by trade, and since the age of 24, I've built a multi-award-winning construction business across Tasmania. So far, I've dedicated my life to the building industry, and today, I'm here to tell you a little bit more about my story and who I am before we embark on a journey together to change the future of building. I came out a lover of food. As a kid, my mum used to have to stop me from climbing the neighbour's fence just so I could break in through the cat flap and raid the lolly jar on the bench. I guess it was a good thing I lived next door to my nan. I remember growing up, money was never plentiful. Dad was always working, mum was always looking after us three rugrats, and I used to look forward to the better things in life like Friday night KFC and a bit of extra salt in the chips. If you know, you know. I then turned my focus to football. I was an avid St Kilda supporter, spending my days in the backyard snapping bananas and taking screamers worthy of going on Thursday night's footy show. I can clearly remember my pre-game ritual. I used to sit down and have what I called a Harvey wall banger, after the great Robert Harvey. This drink consisted of a couple of teaspoons of strawberry Nesquik, followed by a couple of scoops of banana Nesquik, mixed together to create a drink of legends. I then did something that I believe moulded my mind to think the way it does today. I fired up the TV and threw on my all-time hero, the great Rocky Balboa. I'd fast forward to the end of the movie where Rocky fought Apollo from rounds 10 to 15, and I did this religiously every single game. As a young man growing up watching these movies over and over and over again, my mind was trained to understand that if I go those 15 rounds with everything I do in life, there's no such thing as failure. As the great man Rocky would say, life ain't about how hard you can hit, it's all about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forwards. These are some of the best memories of my childhood. I then went through high school and college pretty unsure of what I was going to do with my life. All I knew was that I needed to find something that stimulated my ADHD brain both mentally and physically, and found that inner release in the form of bodybuilding. To pay for the protein shakes and excessive food, I worked part-time at the local supermarket, a job which I held for 10 consecutive years from the age of 14 until 24. So, here you ask, how did my building journey begin? It was summer of 2010, I was 17, I'd just finished college, and my supermarket boss had just chopped off my amazing rat tail with a pair of scissors because I looked like a feral. I was sick of working inside, being sun deprived, so I gave up my ambition to become an engineer and decided to become a builder. That same day, I asked a local builder who used to come in for his daily Farmers Union iced coffee or it's nothing, and the next day I had a job. I then began this obsession with work, working full-time as an apprentice, taking on evening and weekend shifts at the supermarket while squeezing in as many good old cashies on the side as I could. I then finished my trade, completed my Cert 4, got my builder's licence, and at the age of 24, Zanetto Builders was born. I wanted to build a business that was fueled by a family of like-minded people who basically just had fun doing what they loved. As a team, since then, we've delivered multiple award-winning homes. We continue to push in the same direction on this mission to educate ourselves and raise the building industry standard across Australia, which to date has been a great success. But, unfortunately, in all fairy tales, there has to be a villain. And for me, this villain came in the form of my inexperienced self when it came to running and growing a business. As my business grew, I began to suffer. I was just like most of us chippies. I was a great builder. The quality of work and the ability to put in the hours was never a problem. I could build, I could lay tiles, I could finish concrete, I could drive machines, I could roof, I could hang plaster. But the one thing I couldn't do is look after myself and run a business that works for me. And what most people don't realise is that when you get into business, the very things you want, like more time, more money and more freedom, these are the very first things you lose, and sometimes the things you'll never get back. The problem was that I didn't know any better, and no one had taught me. So here I was, working 80 to 100 hours a week, running a dozen blokes, wearing every hat in the business, losing myself, losing money, and somehow delivering award-winning homes. I bet it didn't look like that on Instagram, did it? This is where I ended up. I'd lost myself, lost my enjoyment, and lost my passion. I suffered from severe burnout and battled with anxiety and depression on a daily basis. I couldn't sleep, I'd randomly pull over whilst driving and burst into tears with absolutely no idea why, and I'd pretty much forgotten how to smile. I became self-destructive and lost things I cared about to the point that I was just done. I was about to give up and not go those 15 rounds like Rocky had taught me to. This was my rock bottom, and the first step, and probably the hardest one for me, was showing a bit of vulnerability and reaching out for help. As men, there's this perceived pressure we place upon ourselves to always be strong and never need help. And that is the single flaw that leads to the destruction of most men. From that day, I made a promise to myself and set off on this journey of self-development to understand who I was and who I wanted to become. I invested heavily in myself and not the business for the first time in my life. I was also blessed to be surrounded by influential people such as Dwayne Pearce and Mick Hawes, soon to realise that I wasn't alone on this journey. I dove deep into business coaching, podcasts, reading books, and slowly but surely began to climb out of the hole I'd literally dug for myself. I began to find me again and took control of building what I'd designed as my ideal life. And I just think it's so common among us builders that we can be so good at building things, these physical objects, but we forget about what's important, and that's our own health and the very reason why we set out on this mission in the first place. For me, my biggest fear is finishing the book of my life and not leaving behind something that I could sit down and read and be proud of who I am and how I impacted those around me. That is why I'm here today. I'm now at a place within myself that I feel safe to tell my story. I've built a successful business that works for me and provides a life that I designed. I'm now here on a mission to help you design your ideal life. I'm Zanetto, and I'm a future builder.